Hello, and thank you for joining us on our webinar on Montana's broadband grant program, Connect Montana. My name is Chris Salemi, and I am the Government Affairs Liaison for Airspan Networks. I will start by walking you through and highlighting the program's requirements and benchmarks, and then we'll hand it over to my colleagues Greg Tomei, our Sales Director, and Jamie Fink, Vice President of Technology, to discuss our solutions and technology. We'll start with me on my end here, and I'm going to start by walking you through the program and giving you a description of what this looks like. Connect Montana. Montana just began accepting grant applications to subsidize broadband internet access to unserved and underserved communities across the state. The Connect Montana program was established by bipartisan legislation enacted last year with money from federal COVID-19 stimulus funds. It aims to incentivize private investment in a state where, obviously, due to low population density, geographic barriers, and other factors, more than 1/3 of the residents lack access to fixed high-speed internet. So, what are we looking at? Again, federal COVID state and local stimulus funds are what's powering this funding. $266 million, again, is what is coming out of Montana's American Rescue Plans Act dollars. Award funding for these projects, again, is in unserved and underserved or frontier areas. Before we proceed, I just want to caution, while we try to provide you a detailed snapshot of the program in all of these webinars, we do encourage you to visit the Connect Montana website in their broadband availability map for more information. So, who falls into the eligibility bucket? An incorporated business or partnership, a Montana nonprofit organization, limited liability company, incorporation, cooperative entity, organized for the purpose of expanding broadband access. That is who falls into this bucket. Let's get some definitions done. Underserved, no access to broadband service of more than 100 down, 20 up megabits per second is the definition for underserved. Unserved, at least 10% of delivery points have no access to broadband service or have no access to broadband service speeds of at least 25 down, 3 up. Again, the FCC's minimum standard speeds requirements. Let's get through the definition of frontier. No or extremely limited terrestrial broadband service. So there you have it. Those are your 3 definitions for underserved, unserved, and frontier. Important definitions. Let's now move along to eligible cost and guidelines. So, eligible project cost. Providers must be authorized to do business in Montana and commit a minimum of 20% of the project cost. Please keep that in mind. Eligible project costs include capital expenses associated with the provision of broadband service, including network equipment and signal transmission facilities. Funds cannot be used for non-capital expenses, such as general operations, non-broadband services, marketing, and advertising. Other noteworthy guidelines: providers, again, must be authorized to do business in the Montana and commit at least a minimum of 20% of the project costs. We're going to cover now the application and its timeline. Important numbers here and dates to remember. So, application is due on April 6th, 2022. Application availability for review begins on April 8th. The challenge period will be between April 11th and May 11th. And then after that period, between May the 30th and June the 3rd, modify successfully challenged applications window will be open. And then from there, July the 6th, you will see award announcements. Let's jump down to the scoring criteria. This is a list of how the scoring breaks down. Matching funds will be 15 points. Passing counts of locations, 20 points. Speed thresholds, 30 points. Use of existing infrastructure, the award will be 30 points. And then equity and affordability, 10 points. How will the application process look? What will it look like? Well, the Department of Administration receives and reviews the applications and awards the contracts. There is a Communications Advisory Commission made up of 9 members. They also review contracts. And then finally, the governor approves these contracts. The 9 members of the Communications Advisory Commission are Senators Dan Solomon, Jason Ellsworth, Janet Ellis, Representatives Mike Hopkins, Ed Butchery, Kate Sullivan, and the directors are Misty Ann Giles, Scott Osterman, and Scott Sales. That concludes my portion of this presentation. I will now turn it over to Greg and Jamie to discuss the solutions and technology piece.
My name is Greg Tomei, and I am the sales director for the eastern half of the USA with Airspan Mimosa. I've been with Airspan for 13 years now. And what I'm going to do is just take a few minutes to provide an overview of Airspan Mimosa and our complete end-to-end solutions that make Airspan this perfect fit. With our acquisition of Mimosa, we definitely have that capability. I'll explain that in a little bit. And we also worked with T1 service providers in deploying our 2.5 gigahertz radios over the last several years. So it really is no accident that Airspan is in a pretty perfectly placed position to handle what the tribes need for the 2.5 network. The thing about the tribal deployments thing is there really is a need for speed, as I call it, given that it's not a lot of time, as we know, right? So I'm going to go over a few products and requirements and show you how we do fit the need for speed with these particular networks. A little bit more on Airspan for those of you who don't know. Airspan is a tier 1 USA-based company with global accounts and global reach. We do have offices all over the world. We have deployments all over the globe, but our headquarters is based here in USA. Being a USA-based company is really important as you apply for these funds, and also for you as a customer. You know you can reach us anytime here in the USA. We have CSEs based here in the USA. You can set up a meeting with us here in the USA. You don't have to travel halfway around the globe just to meet with us. It's usually just a few hour plane ride or whatever. And we do notice that a lot of people tend to visit us in the winter time due to our positioning here in Florida. As I was saying, you know, we have been in business for 20 years, and we're currently the 4th largest LTE OEM in the world. And the 3 above us, again, are not US-based companies, but we are. Another key point to mention is that 2 years ago, Airspan acquired Mimosa, another USA-based company, by the way, with 5 gigahertz point-to-point and point-to-multipoint backhaul and point-to-multipoint radios. They're located in Santa Clara, California. Of course, we're one company, but we also have a headquarters out there for meeting with people who are on the West Coast, let's say. And then if you think about how we acquired this company with these backhaul and point-to-multipoint radios, we can now offer a full end-to-end solution from the LTE 4G radios all the way out to the point-to-point, point-to-multipoint radios. And we even have an EPC software stack nowadays that is really affordable. So you given those 3 factors together, that also falls under the need to speed requirement, because you could source the whole end-to-end solution from one vendor. Really important because you save time on equipment delivery and logistics, which sometimes get a little time consuming. And also, in conjunction with the Mimosa acquisition, we were able to set up a sales channel here in the USA, and we work really hard with our distributors in keeping them well stocked. So another need for speed requirement is we usually have stock when you need it, and that's going to be a big part of this funding deployment as you go on. Our 4G LTE product portfolio. On the top, you can see the mini macros we have. Again, these are in band 41, but we also provide them in band 48. So you know, a tribe may not be able to use band 41 in certain locations, or they may want to reserve the 41 for mission critical applications, so they can designate those 2.5 radios for those use cases and use the band 48 radios for other use cases and connectivity. That's an all outdoor design. The RF and the baseband are all in one radio, so that cuts down on time for deployment. You don't need any EPC at the bottom of the tower. You simply need power, backhaul connection, and you are in business. Down below are the airspeeds. These are our micro radios, if you will. So we can use these in band 41 and band 48 as well to infill areas where the mini macros can't reach. Or again, you can cut costs, which is really meaningful here. If you have a small area where you only have a few subscribers, you may not need a whole mini macro radio to cover that area. So we can infill and put a smaller powered micro radio to cover those people. They both put out same kind of throughput. We support dual carrier and carrier aggregation, which can give you 200 plus megabits. So this is also important. Chris, you noted the levels of speed and the points that are awarded for such. So we definitely fit the need for speed there. And then on the right side, we have our AirSpot. This is an outdoor UE or CPE device that we use for fixed wireless access. These go on homes or businesses or wherever you need that connectivity to go. So the combination of these radios definitely fits in with the need for speed, as I call it. The tribes are looking at this as not just an opportunity to build a really reliable network, but they're looking at this as a way to change the life of everyday people that live on the reservation. So thanks a lot, Chris, and thanks to all of you who are attending today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join the webinar.
Thank you, guys. So we're gonna try to make sure that this isn't too much of a company pitch, so to speak, but we've been helping a lot of different ISPs in a number of states, and we've been quite successful in guiding the selection process and in optimizing our solutions for scoring. So I'm going to really try to focus more on the kinds of things that we know that states are prioritizing. Obviously, every state's a little different. Let's talk a little bit about the fixed wireless solutions. So as a whole, if you look at the kinds of things we can do with our unlicensed fixed wireless and some of our microwave technologies, this is really all about delivering bandwidth, high amounts of bandwidth rapidly to locations that are hard to reach. So when we are dealing with rural areas, the reason most of these areas have not been built out yet is likely because there's not fiber in those areas or towers that necessarily have fiber either. So you're in a situation oftentimes where we need to rapidly deploy capacity into an area anywhere from a mile away out to 30, 40 miles away potentially. And in those scenarios, wireless is a great solution to be able to do that rapidly. Today, we'll talk about some different speeds that we can achieve with this mid-mile and backhaul, but safe to say we already do 1.5 gigabit backhauls, and we've been doing that for years, and we also are on the cusp of 3.5 gigabit speeds coming soon with some of these technologies. So as Chris said, you're going to be maturing some of those speeds over the next couple of years. You're going to get to 100 on 100 by the end of the timeline. It's important to be able to have the capacity to be able to handle some of those solutions, and our backhaul solutions absolutely can do that. Now, on the point to multipoint front, obviously this is a base station talking to many CPE, many clients on your network. And we've been doing this for quite some time and delivering today, in many cases, 250 megabits down, 100 megabits up. So this is ready already for your 100 needs. You would easily be able to achieve these in the 5 gigahertz and coming soon, our 6 gigahertz spectrum that we'll talk about in a moment. And this is great because it allows us to be able to at a cost-effective, no spectrum cost approach, and using more off-the-shelf technologies, which we have all of the intellectual property, source control, et cetera, over. We're taking advantage of commercialized chip technology from the Wi-Fi industry, but making it work in a carrier-grade fashion. And that's important because as we speak now, the FCC is in the process of opening the new 6 gigahertz band. The 6 gigahertz band is going to be the gigabit band, as I like to call it, because we're going to be able to deliver larger channels and gigabit speeds to customers. That's going to be really attractive from an efficiency perspective, cost per unit, and rurality. You can reach all these areas, but you also can deliver fiber speeds. That's really interesting because it's not going to take years and high efficiency cost. Or low efficiency costs, I should say. So I think that the point to multipoint technologies right now are more interesting than ever to look at. It's evolved greatly since many of you may have tried some of the technology in the early days. We're already meeting all the requirements, even with our current technology, but the new technology that comes out in the beginning of 2022 and the band is opening up in mid-2022 with the FCC, we'll be able to deploy now and start to add on those other speeds within the next 6 to 9 months, which I think is a great, great achievement. And it's really going to keep these proposals for you looking a lot more attractive. So you'll be able to rapidly deploy the speeds out to your customer base, and I think look much more efficient and much more rural than you would be able to do over a much longer timeline with the fiber technologies, of course. I touched on this briefly, but we wanted to reiterate probably the most useful tool in the toolbox for many of the ISPs that we deal with. And like I mentioned, you're going to be dealing with a lot of locations that are needed to serve areas that fiber already is not in place, even at towers or new tower sites that may need to be built. And that is best achieved with point-to-point wireless technology. It's extremely affordable and is very flexible in distance. And especially when you're in rural areas, there's very little to no noise that you're going to be encountering. So you don't have to worry about expensive microwave solutions. You can take advantage of some of these underutilized, unlicensed bands. This is technology we've been working on for years. Even some of our largest carriers in the world on the mobile side are using us as their reliable backhaul solution for using unlicensed technology. And that's been an incredible achievement for us to be able to take this really cost-effective, high-speed, disruptive technology and even put it into the backhaul of mobile networks. And I think that's a testament to the carrier-grade mentality that we now are able to achieve with this technology, to be able to put that into mobile and also, feeding other broadband networks with these speeds. So as you can see, the distances that we're dealing with here are up to 30 plus miles. We have links in places of 50, 60 miles in some cases where we need to, down to across the street. Sometimes you just need to get across a parking lot and that solves the problem. And to be able to do that at under a couple $100 for 700 megabits as an example, that's pretty incredible to be able to do that today and not have to worry about doing a fiber build. So sometimes you just need to pick the best solution that gets you there. And most of these speeds are well above what the FCC and the folks are going to look at when it comes down to different speed tiers, being 25.3 and eventually up to 100 and beyond. And you're going to be able to achieve the and beyond category with this as a result of that. So hopefully we've been able to give you a bit of a broad education of some of the key components to what's necessary to deploy based on the kinds of guidelines and scoring system. Thank you, everybody. I much appreciate your joining.
Thank you, Greg and Jamie. And that has concluded our webcast. We hope you found this webinar informative and look forward to seeing you at our next one. Thank you again.